The email arrived while my daughter was asleep in the next room. 3 months into maternity leave, I opened my work inbox. The subject line said organizational update. My position had been eliminated as part of a restructuring. 9 minutes later, I tried to log into the shared drive. Access denied. My hands were steady. The baby monitor sat next to my laptop, glowing green. The letter ended with a line that felt rehearsed. "We appreciate your contributions." None of it surprised me as much as it should have. 6 months earlier, before any of this, I sat on a Monday video call with the whole finance division. Declan Mercer ran those calls like a man performing for a camera only he could see. He clicked his silver Montblanc pen against the table before anything sharp left his mouth. That morning he looked at the meeting agenda and said we shouldn't build quarterly plans around people who were about to leave and change diapers. A few people laughed. Most just went quiet. Brenda Cole, our HR director, adjusted her glasses and said only, "Let's keep the tone professional, please." Then she smiled and moved the conversation to budget forecasts like nothing had happened. I didn't say anything that day. I wrote the date down instead. 2 weeks before my leave started, I asked Declan for something in writing. I wanted confirmation that my role would still be mine when I came back. He told me not to worry. He said the company always supported young mothers. I believed him for exactly 1 minute. Walking back to my desk, I heard him through the open door of the conference room, talking to 2 department heads. He said the company needed people who actually worked. Both managers heard it. Neither of them looked at me afterward. He signed my leave paperwork without looking up. I went on leave. I had a daughter. I stopped thinking about Declan Mercer for exactly 11 weeks. Then the termination letter came, and thinking about him became difficult to stop. A few days after the layoff, I opened LinkedIn to check job listings, nothing more. The company's page had a new post at the top. It welcomed Austin Reeve as their new senior financial analyst. My old title, word for word. The post was dated the day after my termination went through. I stared at the post for a long moment before opening the photo. Austin was sitting at my old desk. I recognized the window behind him, the same crooked blind I'd meant to fix for 2 years. I didn't cry. I took a screenshot instead. A former coworker, Priya, had been quietly job hunting herself for months, tired of watching how the department treated people. She forwarded me a PDF a week later. My name wasn't marked as eliminated. It was marked as reassigned, with Austin's name typed directly over mine. The document's creation date sat in small gray text at the bottom. It was dated 2 weeks before my official termination. That was the moment something in me went cold and clear. I called Sabine Holloway that same week. Her office smelled like coffee and printer toner. She listened without interrupting, sorting colored sticky notes into stacks by shade while I talked, red with red, yellow with yellow. When I finished, she looked up and said one thing. "Stop answering them by phone. Put everything in writing." She peeled off a red note and wrote one word on it. Timeline. Over the following weeks, I built a file. Access logs, the ones the labor board forced the company to release. Every email I still had. The complaint itself. Quietly, I accepted an offer from a firm downtown. The contract was signed before Declan even knew I had a lawyer. I signed it with a blue pen, not black. I don't know why that detail mattered to me, but it did. Declan started calling not long after Sabine sent her first formal letter. He texted once, asking if we could handle this quietly, without lawyers getting involved. I never answered by phone again. Within 1 week, he sent 3 separate emails, though he'd taken days to respond to anything before. Something had shifted, and he knew it. Then the judge ruled in our favor on discovery. The company would have to hand over internal communications. Sabine received the notice before anyone at the company did. The order was dated 3 days before their quarterly earnings call. Neither of us said it out loud, but we both understood the timing was about to matter. The hearing was set for a Tuesday morning in a federal courthouse with too much fluorescent light. Sabine met me outside with a coffee in each hand and a single sticky note stuck to her folder. She handed me 1 cup and said, "Only we're ready." Declan sat 2 rows ahead of me with Brenda and Austin. A handful of former coworkers came too, some out of loyalty, some out of curiosity. Sabine stood and read from an internal email chain projected on a screen behind her. In one message, Declan had written a single line to Brenda. Replace her before maternity protection becomes inconvenient. Brenda's reply, one word, agreed. Nobody in the room spoke for a moment. The timestamp sat at the top of the screen, plain and undeniable. Austin looked down at his hands. For the first time, he looked genuinely uncomfortable. Brenda pushed her glasses up and stopped writing in her notebook entirely. One board member leaned toward his attorney and said quietly that he hadn't seen any of this before today. The judge read the printed exhibit twice before she said anything at all. Declan, for the first time in the entire process, didn't have a response ready. His pen sat untouched on the table in front of him. I noticed because I'd been watching for it without meaning to. The ruling came down on a Thursday morning, the same morning the company was holding its quarterly investor call. I won the case outright. The settlement was substantial, and the company was required to publicly restate certain financial risk disclosures tied to the litigation. By the time the call ended, a reporter was already trying to reach Declan for comment. He asked to meet me once after all of it was final. We sat in a quiet corner of a hotel lobby he picked. He said we could have handled this more quietly. I told him I tried to handle it honestly, back when I still worked for him. Then I stood up and left. He turned the silver pen over in his fingers the whole time, like it might still mean something. That evening I sat at my new desk, sorting the last of the case documents into a folder before closing it for good. I thought about Declan's silver Mont Blanc, the way it used to click before every cruel thing he said. It didn't feel like power anymore. It just felt like someone else's empty habit. I signed the last document with the same blue pen from that first contract and put the folder away. I used to think my biggest mistake was trusting him. It wasn't. My biggest mistake was staying quiet for as long as I did, waiting for someone else to say what I already knew. They thought maternity leave would make me weaker. It made me someone who stopped settling for less. So tell me, was justice enough, or should she have walked away and never looked back? If this story got to you, hit like and subscribe for the next one.